Well, let me tell you a little something about me. When it's Saturday night, I need to blow off some steam. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I've been rolling in since the clock came Monday morning. From the end of the week, I'm bound to blow. We're walking to the honky tonk like a pack of wolves now. Order up around the drops and it's away we go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Equipment Talk from IRAY. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I got a special guest here. My name is Colonel Ray Henry, and I have a special guest on, and it is Don Henry. So, what brought you in here today? I asked you, didn't I?
You asked me to come in. I mean, I don't know what else.
Okay. Yeah, I did ask him to come in. And I just wanted to know, there's a couple things that, you do around at the IRAY job sites and locations and everything else. What brought you, I know that, that you're part of the family, that's part of it, but what brought your interest really back into working with equipment and working with the auctions that you are today?
Well, I've always actually wanted to be in sales ever since I was a little kid. When you had the car lots, I always did. And, I got pulled away from it because moving around, and I did tree removal for quite a lot of years, but it was time to quit that and get back to what I really wanted to do. Well, that's what brought me back.
So what interests you so much in the sales part of selling equipment, or just selling? Do you like selling like pots and pans and stuff too, or?
No, I don't like messing around with that little stuff. It's way too time consuming for the outcome that you get. I mean, there's other people that love doing it, and that's just not my thing. I like the equipment much more. I like dealing with the people through the auctions and selling stuff outright as well.
So what makes the equipment interesting to you, I guess? Can you explain some of that?
What makes it interesting to me?
Yeah.
Well, for one thing, there's so many different types, of equipment, brands. You got lots of different types of equipment, dozers, loaders, along with then you get into the trucking industry as well. There's so many different things that it keeps you, should I say, not researching, but it keeps your knowledge up because you're learning something new every single day from these people as well, and the equipment.
So what do you all do at IRAY as far as type of work and everything else? And I mean, and the audience here, I don't know, they haven't heard you on a podcast here or anything like that, but they would, I'm sure it's interesting because they'd like to know kind of how the inner works for IRAY Companies. And I guess, this is not just about IRAY. We're going to kind of see how Donnie ticks here over at IRAY. So it kind of shows how IRAY represents itself. And not only that, the knowledge background that helps us IRAY be the best, right?
Yeah, well, as I already said, you're learning every single day. What I do here, I mean, I wear quite a few different hats here. But it takes that, and we all kind of do here, and we're a family. I mean, as far as from not just us, but the people we work with too, we consider everybody a family.
So you adopt people along the way, huh?
Well, pretty much, yep.
Yeah, the good or the bad, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to take the good with the bad.
So now, as far as on the equipment end of it, and I know that you like selling stuff that's more higher dollar, or what's the highest dollar item that that you've got to sell as an individual? And let's not talk auction, because I know that we've had plants that we've sold that were over $1,250,000 for an asphalt plant that but we're talking about a piece of equipment. What's kind of the highest number that you've worked with or sold in your days that you've been with IRAY?
Well, I guess I can't tell you an exact dollar amount, but I mean, it's been in the hundreds of thousands. But I guess I don't concentrate on that. I concentrate on getting that one done, getting that sold for our customer, and moving on to the next one and helping out the next customer.
So what makes you a good customer relations person to sell for anybody, or even IRAY or whoever? What makes you who you are?
Well, I mean, here's the thing about it, and I hear people saying they appreciate it all the time, is I tell them everything that's wrong down to whatever little thing I see, even if a bolt's missing off of a door or something like that, off the inside of the door.
So you really inspect them, huh?
Well, I let them know that because they're going to see it when they get there. And you hear some of these horror stories about people showing up to places and it's not what you said it was, or nothing like that. I hear it from a lot of times, and people respect it and they like it. They appreciate the honesty.
Have you had anybody say to you that it wasn't what you said it was?
Yeah, but he was just a disgruntled person because it was exactly what I told him it was. But I think he was just having a bad day. But everybody has those days. But
he was expecting maybe more than what he was looking at a rosier picture than what you were painting, huh?
Well, I think that he must have misread the ad when it said 2012. He thought it was a 2022. So but I just, again, the honesty is key.
Yeah. Now, so let's say that if you were going to consign equipment in and everything like that, what makes you different from, other companies and other people out there that are handling, these people with equipment and so on and so forth?
Well, I guess I'm not just going to speak for myself. I can speak for all of us, is that when people are consigning here, you're not just a number. I mean, we're a family-owned, family-run company. We appreciate people bringing in their equipment, no matter big or small. It doesn't matter. We just appreciate it, because without them bringing the stuff in, we wouldn't be here.
That's true. So, but I mean, what kind of sets you apart? I know the family part, I get that, you know what I mean, where you kind of treat them like family, so that way that if they don't like what they're going to hear, you're still going to tell them, but maybe you're going to be a little softer with them, than you would be with a guy that's standing there that's your brother maybe or something, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. You gotta watch what you say a little bit. I mean, this is still, we're still doing business, and you're worried about their bottom line as well.
Okay. So now, in your thoughts or your recommendations, let's say that if somebody has a piece of equipment and it's at their site and let's say it's 2 hours away, what would you recommend them to do before you get into selling their equipment or anything like that? What kind of things would you recommend to them before you'd even take that piece of equipment or sell it? What is your take on that? Would you tell them to haul it in? Would you tell them to get you some information or this or that? Or what would you do?
Well, you first always start off with the information, see what they're looking for, what their needs are, what they're able to do. It just depends, because you have some companies where, a lot of people just leave in their own yards and that works for them. It saves them on hauling and everything else. But there are other customers that say, hey, I just want to bring it into you and you guys just take care of everything, because they have full trust in us.
So when COVID hit, let's say, right? COVID hit and you had hundreds of people coming here for the auction, and now you had to switch everything. How did that transition work for you? And what did you do when people wanted to bring it here and you really, that's a tough role, right?
Yeah, people are still welcome to bring the stuff in, but we actually transitioned so that people don't have to, because the way we were doing it before, we were doing the quarterly auctions for a year, and pretty much everything had to be here. We sold some stuff off-site, but not very much, because we weren't really very well known for it. But now people, it's changed the whole thing, the way we do stuff here, auction week and everything. When the equipment was coming here, it was definitely a lot more work. I'd be out there at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning lining up the lot, so it's in lot order and it looks dress. So when people come in here, they can just go right down the line and everything was right there, easy for them to find. But now it took that part away from it. But now you're talking to people. You can't physically look at that piece of equipment because we sell stuff all over.
Yeah.
And you can't exactly, I can't go to, I could, but go over to Brownsville and inspect something for somebody, so you got to put your faith and trust in the people that you're selling for, that they are being honest with you, because ultimately that person's calling to talk to you to see how that piece of machinery is. And so they have to trust you, or else they're not going to bid on it.
So in your eyes or your way of looking at it, you think that a business should be reputable, would be a business anyways, right?
Exactly.
And then if they're reputable and you're reputable, then, it should be a pretty good match. And so what do you ask them for to help your customers purchase that piece and really pay, accordingly?
Well, for one thing, you ask for 100% honesty, because when again, it's our reputation on the line. When we're talking to people and we're telling them what this piece of equipment is and they buy it, they show up there, it's not what you said it was, they're not holding the owner accountable for that. They're holding us accountable for that. So we need to be able to, as I said, we need to trust the people that we are selling equipment for as well, that they are being honest with us.
So do you come out and tell the customer that, hey, if you don't tell us this, that we're not going to sell for you, or how you handling that piece of it? Or, and let's say that somebody comes in and they looked at it and they said, you know what, that's not what you said. You said that it had this or had this or had that. How do you handle that piece of it?
Well, with the customer, the way that I put it is I say, if a transmission's bad in something, just mention it, because somebody could have a transmission for that truck or that unit, whatever it may be, laying in their shop that they've already maybe had rebuilt, or they got it from somewhere, an old truck they had, something, whatever. And they'll pay better money for it because they'll just slap that one in that they have in their shop. And it's no big deal to them. But now if you don't tell them that the transmission is bad in it and they get it, well, for one thing, they're not going to be happy. And so then it makes us both look bad at that point, because, you can say, well, you're going to talk to the customer. So they're going to say straight out, well, nobody ever said that the transmission was bad, so that it takes away your, a bit of your reputation, I guess.
Or integrity, huh?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that people are understanding and that, that what happens when you don't tell and what happens when you do tell.
Well, exactly, because trying to hide stuff, these people deal with this stuff every single day. That's why I said I don't hide even the littlest things when I'm selling something to somebody, because they deal with this stuff every day. They're going to see it. They're going to see exactly what it is when they get there. So why not be honest with them? So for us to be able to do that at the auctions when stuff is off site, these people need to be honest with us.
So when you went and switched to the online, version of it, because everything gets sold online, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So on the online version, what do you feel that makes you different from the other auction companies out there on your online? I mean, for your customers, is it easier? Is it harder? What's making it, what makes you stand out on your online comparably to other companies like yourself?
Well, there's a lot of auction companies that they just do timed auctions, which they do what's called a soft close. They just time it out, and then somebody bids, it adds on time. And that, which actually we do our pre-bidding. And I know there's a couple other auction companies out there that do it like that. But we've been doing it like that since we switched to online only. We've been doing it like that the whole time, that after the pre-bidding is closed, then we open it up just like if it was live auction. So we still give people the touch and the feel of a live auction while they can sit in the comfort of their home and bid.
So what you're referring to is the simulcast.
The simulcast, yep.
Yeah. And I think that even before that, Donnie, they would, basically we've had a soft close all the way up to an auction that we've been doing since we started the auctions, because it gives people viewing time and it gives them enough time to bid on things.
Yeah, the pre-bidding.
The pre-bid, exactly. And then it switched over to the simulcast online, because you call a live event. A live event is when a guy stand out in front of you and you're live.
It's considered live online. Because You're online, but
because you hear
and you're live, you can hear the auctioneer, but nobody's here in person.
Yeah. So in your opinion, as far as the auctions and the equipment, as far as getting it in and getting it logged in, do you see much of a change down the road? What's going on with what's going with the auction industry from what you're experiencing, or how do you see yourself in 5 years from now? How do you see, or haven't you really thought about looking that far forward?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is I think that we're going to continue doing it this way. I don't think that I would go back to live events where people are here in person. There are certain circumstances where if somebody's selling out a company and that's what they want, well, then that's what you're going to do. But a lot of people are getting away from that. It's pretty much just the old school that are kind of adamant about that. Yeah.
Do you think a live event would get more money than a simulcast?
Well, we've proven that the simulcast gets better money.
And do you think it's because people don't get to see enough to make a good choice, or do you think it's just convenience?
I think it's really just convenience. Because there are still a lot of people that like to put their hands on it, like to put their eyes on it and see the actual piece, and they can still do that. They're more than welcome to. We put them in contact so that they can go and, look at the equipment and whatnot. But I wouldn't change the way that we're doing it right now. Besides the fact that we are branching out, we're growing. We have actually 2 territorial managers out in Wisconsin right now, and we're going to get probably 2 more on out there.
Oh.
We have people in Iowa, South Dakota, and we're just going to continue branching out from there.
So you're saying that somebody wants to come on and work a portion of Iowa or something like that, they could call you up and say, "Hey, I'm looking for, some territory out there. Is that okay?" And is that something you'd look at?
Oh, definitely. Yep. Even North Dakota, any of the states that we're in right now, even Minnesota, we're looking for a couple people down in the southern Minnesota, northern Minnesota area too. I mean, so we're looking for people in all the states that we're in right now. And then the way that I see this going is, once those are all filled up, we get those going, then we're going to branch out a little bit farther and continue branching out like that from the inside out.
So you feel you're going to have more auctions a month then? Is that what you're kind of looking at? Because right now it's every 4 to 6 weeks, right?
Yep, every 4 to 6 weeks. It will turn into where, as you get more and more people on and you get to where, hey, we got 2,000 pieces. Well, it's pretty hard to do that in one day. I mean, I realize there's other companies
more than one ring you could do, right?
You could, yeah, but if you're branched out in other states down south a little bit farther or whatnot, you're gonna do those states together. And once you're branching out and you have 4-state area or whatnot, then you're gonna do those 4 states, because it's you just wouldn't do that all in one day. You couldn't do it. So you're probably going to be looking at an auction a week. And,
you mean in one ring?
Well, one ring, yes.
In one day. You could do 5,000 things in a day if you have enough rings going on, right?
Well, definitely, yeah. And that is something that things are still going to change a little bit here coming up in the future, but as far as that goes, I think we're doing good with what we have right now, and we're going to continue to grow.
So today, if you had, let's say, 2,000 pieces, that you're going to do for an auction, and it could be one company or several companies, right? So what would you recommend to the auction or how would you handle the auction as far as if you had that many pieces for an auction? What would you end up looking? How would you look at that, or how would you set that up?
Well, I guess you'd have to look at what kind of pieces you have first. Okay. And if you have, like we always have lots of attachments on and things like that. But at that point, right now, at this point in time, if you had 2,000 pieces on an auction from this area, well, you'd make it a 2-day sale. Okay. Is what you do. Then you do equipment one day, trucks and trailers another day, just split up the industries and do it that way. And then with that smaller stuff, you could just always run a second ring that's, maybe just a timed auction.
Okay.
Or a soft close.
Soft close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'd be a timed soft close, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, what is kind of your, let's say this year, okay? A lot of things you've probably got a rhythm, things are happening this year and they're kind of falling into place. What kind of was the biggest surprise pieces that you've sold or that you've sold at the auction at IRAY for you this year? What was kind of the most
ones that stand out the most?
Yeah, what stands out?
Well, I would say because we've actually had some pretty nice equipment on the sales this year. I mean, things have been bringing really good money. We've had some nicer, newer stuff on the auctions, which we always do. But I guess we've had a lot of high dollars stuff that's sold. Like for example, that 980M that we just sold.
Where did that end up going?
That ended up going to Cleveland,
Ohio.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Also, you're selling. So if you were selling out of different states, it doesn't matter. It's going to go to other states as well, right?
It goes to other states as well. We're worldwide. I mean, we send stuff to Egypt. We send it all over the world. And I have people that I deal with on a constant basis that are overseas buyers. So they're always telling me when they have new things that they're looking for or whatnot. But I mean, I know what they're looking for because I stay in contact with them.
So we've seen the housing market drop in the in the area here and stuff in the last few months because of interest rates and supply and demand and things of that nature. And the housing market has went probably pretty high. So I know that with that being said, how do you feel the foreign industry is doing? Is that giving you more of a leverage with the equipment, having that ability to sell to the foreign industry? And if so, is there just particular units that sell there, and what's kind of the take on that?
It is just particular units. I mean, they don't buy the newer stuff yet. I mean, they're getting into the newer stuff, but The newest stuff that I've saw them buy or that's went over there so far is probably that '06 models, because they don't like dealing with all those computers and everything.
Or maybe they don't have the support for the technology there either.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But I mean, you give them an older machine over there, they can fix it themselves, and they're back up and running. They don't have to call in an expensive.
So are you talking like Mexico, or are you talking what parts of the country?
Well, I guess any parts of the country, the parts that we've all sold to, like even Africa. I talked to a gentleman out of Africa. I got everything, how they do stuff, how it works, everything like that. I mean, so business owners over in the other countries and stuff, if you own a business, you're doing pretty good. But if you're a worker, that's all you're ever going to be is a worker.
You can't make your way out of that, huh?
You can't. No.
Why is that political or?
Well, every country has their politics too, but it's just the way that it is. They can't, if they don't have the money, they're living day to day is what they're doing.
So you're saying in America you got some freedom to make some money is what you're saying, and some opportunity, and if you do that, you can actually move up and own your own business and possibly make a good living is what you're saying, right?
Well, exactly. Yep. And even with the foreign market, I mean, like I said, they have their politics too.
You think Canada has the same thing going on, you think?
Well, I don't think I'll get too much into that, but yeah, yep, they do. Yeah, even with sending stuff overseas, they have it so where they're living 3 months at a time. They'll tell them, yep, you can buy stuff out of the United States. Okay, nope, right now you can't buy nothing. These containers that you have right now already pre-bought, that's all you can ship back. So anything else that they're buying, and it has to do with the international banks and things like that too, for the money that they're sending out and bringing in and stuff. So there's a lot to deal with that deals with that part of it. But again, they have their politics stuff just like we do.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it is that you've seen it from the get-go. I mean, there's, like I said, hundreds of people or even up to thousands at an auction. And in today, what are you seeing with the work that's going on? Because, we've been talking about equipment going autonomous. We've talking about, the DEF systems that are on this equipment. We're talking about, going to just electrical with backup generators on some of these dozers and stuff like this. How do you really see that in your eyes with the auction industry? And with equipment coming in, you think people are going to, as soon as electrics are coming out, more so that they're going to get rid of this other equipment quicker, or are they going and go to autonomous, or how do you see that?
Well, I guess all I can say about that is from dealing with these construction owners on a day-to-day basis, it's going to take a lot to get all of them to switch over to electric. Just like no different than electric cars. It's going to take a lot to get everybody to convert over to it. Will they get more popular with the people? Yeah, well, when they see what they can do, because they're an electric dozer is a pushing machine. I mean, it is. It's pretty hard to stop them, but you still have to get these people to switch, and they don't want to do it because it's basically they're getting pretty much forced to do it, and so they're fighting back. But people will switch, but it's going to take a long time.
How long is a long time? You talking 5 years, 10 years,
well,
20 years,
I can't,
30 years?
I can't see into the future, but we're going to have your regular diesel powered units around for a long time yet.
So you're thinking that these guys with diesel powered units, and if they all have to go to a higher standard of emissions, what do you? I mean, do you see that the counties or the cities are pushing for that as well, and adopting what federal government's saying about cleaning up your air, cleaning up and emissions and all these kinds of things? Do you see that coming out quicker, or how do you see that?
Well, for one thing, they can try to make people change all that they want as fast as they want to try to. But the thing is, you still have to produce the equipment. That's the trouble people are running into right now. They can't get new equipment. So if everybody has to order all electric equipment and stuff, well, they can't just come in and say, no, inside these city limits, you have to have electric or you can't do it because.
Well, didn't they do that in California, the trucks?
Yeah, and look how
For-
that turned out for them.
For the loading docks and stuff? Wasn't it something like that?
Oh yeah, they're making everybody switch over to electric everything, and now look at their power grids can't take it. So that tells you, what common sense took to make that happen.
Yeah, well, I know that that you were talking before we talked about this was containers. You weren't getting some of the containers or things that were coming in from the ports, right?
Yep, and it's all because it was because of California, because they made the people, you had to be union, you had to have an electric truck to get into the ports, and so that really slowed it down. You had a lot of ships sitting there waiting to get unloaded because they couldn't find the people to get in there to do it, or they had the people but they couldn't find enough people. So that's what really slowed it down. Well, they said, you know what, forget it then. They're dropping at other ports.
Well, they turned around, went to a different port and dropped off so they could get it back over here.
Yeah, instead of sitting out on the water for 2 months,
Yeah.
waiting to get unloaded, they went to other ports. There, because California is not the only port that there is, but
So you're shipping in from other countries, right?
oh yeah, we ship it. Yep.
So we get some equipment and some other types of tools and attachments, that kind of thing.
Yep. They come over on containers, and that's why we saw it. The things that happen, which I guess people really, I don't want to say your common person, but your everyday person doesn't see. I mean, we see it all firsthand with from the trucking market starting to go down, and
Because of what?
because of high fuel prices,
Yeah, exactly.
and they don't want to they don't want to pay for the loads basically.
So somebody else doesn't want to pay them for their fuel. So basically, they got to work for a week what they used to be able to do in 2 days.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I talked to people and they said, I'm parking my truck. It took me 10 days to make what I made in 3 days a month ago. And they said, you're just breaking even. So I'm not doing it.
So if you had to look at with what's happened with the trucking, what's happened with electric demand, what's happening in the auction industry or in the sales industry, what's going to come about with all of this excess equipment once they start putting electric out and everything else? How do you feel that is that going to go? Is that going to stay here in the United States? Is that going to go to countries that don't have so many more laws and regulations? Or how's that? How do you see how that happening?
Well, you're still going to have your people that just use the equipment every great once in a while. They're still going to be using the diesel powered equipment. But yes, there will be, but the overseas, they only take certain things. They only want certain things because of their reliability. And, there's just so many factors that weigh into it. So they're going to change just like we do a little bit. But, you're still going to have your companies, your smaller companies, your farmers, people like that will still use the diesel powered equipment.
Well, and the thing about it is that it's hard to predict the future 100% just depending upon what gets built and how they build it. They could have alternative fuels such as solar, like you're saying electric, but solar power to power up them, or off a grid like you're talking, and or a diesel generator that generates that gives them the power. There's going to be a lot of things, and we'd like to see what's going to happen in the future here. But we see the auction industry is probably not going away for a while. Is what you're saying?
No, the auction industry isn't going anywhere for a very, very long time. I mean, it's been around for forever.
And why do you think that is?
Well, because for one, people enjoy them. For two, there's so many reasons that it isn't going to go anywhere for a long time. A lot of people don't trust salesmen. They'd rather go to an auction, and if they got to go look at something or whatnot so that they know exactly what it is, they can bid accordingly. They like that better than having some high pressure salesman pushing them on a piece of equipment.
Good. Well, Donnie, I think that this is a good talk here today, and I'm kind of glad that we got to talk about sales skills and things of that nature, and and kind of seeing into the future what's going to happen with the auction industry. And I think you're right, because I think that back in the Egyptian time, that when the pharaohs, somebody that was one of the higher ups that actually got taken and brought in, to let's say a county, they took care of that county or that state or whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? They broke up. If the person who was collecting that money passed away, then that whole family had to move out of there because somebody in the family couldn't just take over. And they didn't just give those items so that they could sell them out to somebody else, but they did have an auction, and they'd have an auction amongst the other ones that were county or cities that were actually taking care of the Pharaoh's land or whatnot. So I think the auction part, you're right. It's going to be here. It's been here for a long time, and it might change, like you said, just different way of doing it, right?
Yep.
But at the same time, I think that it'll stick around. So, but no further ado, I think that we're going to, take and just make the best out of it, and we're going to embrace technology, and we're going to move forward. And again, Donnie, I want to thank you for coming out here today. This is Equipment Talk from IRAY, and it's Colonel Ray Henry, and we want to thank you, all you, for listening to the podcast. And if you have something that you'd like to hear about or talk about sometime down the road, we're going to be bringing individuals in from different industries that will actually give us an insight of different technology and also different views. So again, thank you, Donnie. We're signing out.
Thank you.